Hey everyone, and welcome to today's episode of Chris by Kristen. Today we're making one of my favorite go-to Italian restaurant orders of Bolognese. This is one of my favorite meals to make because it's a very much a set it and forget it type of meal. 3 hours later, it's done. And you get all the flavors of the meat and the tomatoes and the garlic and the onions all come together. And there's one decadent, tender sauce. You can make it with fettuccine, pappardelle. I'm making it with tagliatelle today. But whatever you have on hand will do. Can't wait to get to this one. Let's get to it. I just diced some shallots, like you see here. And for my carrots, you can definitely dice them up. But what I like to do is just fine chop them in a food processor because I like when my carrots are sort of melt into the beef. But if you skip this step, it's totally fine. And then just dice them into small pieces. A couple of pulses in the food processor. So this way it almost has the same consistency or the same size as ground beef. Aside, I have a Dutch oven behind me heating up where I'm going to just add some olive oil. And that's basically going to be the home for everything. Everything cooks in that pot except for the pasta. That's what also makes this meal really great is that one pot and that's it. First, we're going to brown our meat. And now I'm using ground beef, but if you don't like ground beef, you can use chicken, or you can use a combination of chicken and beef. So really, this is going to take no time at all. We're going to just break it apart here. Actually, if you have a wooden spoon, that might be best because it gives you a little bit more leverage. We're not looking for a char or anything. We're just looking to cook the meat through. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just season it with some salt. And this will render some fat, which does give it a lot of flavor, but I tend to just scoop some of it out. So our meat is brown, and we're going to add in some more flavor. And you'll notice that each step, we're just adding another layer and layer of flavor, and then all those flavors are going to cook together to become this like magnificent, tender meat sauce. Another ingredient you can add at this point would be chopped celery, which I don't have, but it'll be just fine without it. You might have noticed, but I haven't added any garlic yet, and that's because I want it to blend right into the sauce. So just after I put the tomato sauce in, I'm going to just use my microplane and literally melts into the sauce. And if you don't have a microplane, minced garlic is perfectly fine at this stage too. So in goes the heavy cream, really going to add the richness. About a quarter of a cup of wine. You know, I didn't mention this in the very beginning, but nutmeg, if you have it on hand, so maybe like a quarter, I don't know, like an eighth of a teaspoon of nutmeg for some extra flavor will go a long way. What about this is that we want to keep it uncovered and simmer it on a very, very low for about 3 hours, but also want to come back to it every half hour. Just give it a little stir, show it a little love, and then you can go back to your book, watch your show. You'll notice that every time you come back to it, it will have reduced a little bit more and become more concentrated. And feel free to give it a little taste as well and decide whether or not you need to put more salt or pepper and adjust as you go. Just know that you're in for a big treat. About an hour left on the timer, and I noticed that it was getting a little too thick, so I'm just going to thin it out a little bit with some water or make it a little bit more saucy. But otherwise, it's looking really good, really soft and tender, and you can tell there's a real difference in the meat versus where we first started to now. It just sort of melts in your mouth after this point. So we're at about the 3.5 hour mark, which means we're done, and it's very soft and tender. You can just tell. I have some pasta boiling here. That's almost done, and I'm going to bring it all together. See, I just plated it, and it looks and smells so good. It tastes like something you would get at a restaurant. Meal to feed a crowd. I'm going to be here enjoying this meal, but if you like this one, make sure you give it a thumbs up. I'm going to link the recipe down below, and I also have another really great leave it and forget it meal that I'm going to post right here that you should try next. If you want to see recipes like this and more, make sure you subscribe to Chris by Kristen, where you'll see a new recipe drop every Friday. Thanks so much for stopping by, and see you soon.